I think we've been filming for 10 days and it's like, okay, tomorrow's the day you're going to go and swim for the world record. So I remember already going, oh man, I've just been filming for 10 days and we're going for this world record tomorrow. It's middle of winter, it's freezing cold, and the crew would have been 70 or 80 people, and a big production. And yeah, so there was a huge amount of pressure, but there was also this very real pressure of having to swim this enormous distance under the ice. And to give you some context, the furthest I'd ever swum under ice before with this world record attempt was 20 meters. And the world record I was going for was to break 175 meters. The day before the world record, I had a practice attempt, and the furthest I got was 20 meters.
Imagine swimming 182 meters under a frozen lake on a single breath at 53 years old. Today I'm speaking to Ant Williams, who's a 2-time ice diving world record holder and a performance psychologist who harnessed his mindset to break a world record at the age of 53. His story's recently been featured in Apple's immersive documentary Ice Dive, filmed on the Vision Pro with 180-degree video and spatial audio that literally puts you under the ice with him. It's one of the most intense and beautiful things I've ever seen. We talk about mental toughness, identity, fear, and why most people underestimate what they're actually capable of, especially later in life. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it. With the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, Nick Brax, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. In this episode, we discuss why you're underestimating what you're actually capable of. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Ant, thank you so much for making the time to come on the podcast, mate.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure to be joining you.
No, I love it. And, as what this happens so often, because I genuinely am just so curious about my guests, we're having a chat before recording this and, things start coming up and it's like, fuck, we should just start recording straight away because there's so much that comes out of it, when you're connecting on these things. But I appreciate you making the time. You've got a crazy story, and I'm just going to jump straight in before we go into it. Are you able to give our listeners just a background on yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nick. So I'm an ice freediver. It's a strange title to be sharing, but my background is that I studied sports psychology for years at university. I grew up in quite a Christian upbringing, just following the rules, playing it safe, being fascinated by athletes who I really admired and looked up to, people who I thought were taking a lot of risk and had this ability to perform under pressure and just had this charisma and energy about them. So I loved being around athletes, but I wasn't athletic. And my parents were into the church, they were into music. And so we never got really introduced to sport at a young age growing up. But I loved sports so much that I ended up sort of going, I'm going to pursue a career where I'd be like a coach or a physical education teacher. So I studied physical education at university and came across this paper called sports psychology, right back when it was such a new field in the area of psychology. And somehow you can work with an athlete just by talking with them. You might be able to make the difference between taking them from the top 20 into the top 3 in the world. I thought, this is epic. This is what I'm going to do. And so I've been on that trajectory ever since of being wanting to be a sports psychologist and wanting to work with athletes. And then there just came a point in my career where I realized that to be good at what I'm doing and to have credibility with my athletes, that I needed to try it for myself. I needed to get away from teaching things that came out of a textbook and get some lived experience. And so I took up the sport of freediving, and that's where the kind of I guess my story begins, Nick, because then it's led me into some crazy adventures where now I find myself ice diving and trying for world records in that area.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I got so excited when I first heard about you and your story. And I was saying this to you before we started recording, but my I was obsessed with wanting to be an athlete when I was younger and found it really difficult when I couldn't do it anymore. And then the psychology of, okay, once I get to a certain age, this doesn't really stay a possibility. And what else can I do? Because I couldn't find anything that gave me that same, passion and I had that enthusiasm for. So yeah, so inspiring, and just it really is such a crazy thing at that age. And I think such an amazing example. Maybe not all of us can go and become a professional athlete late in life like you did, but I think it's such a good example for all of us that we can do all of these different things at any point in life. We often tell ourselves that once you get to a certain age, you should live in this a certain way, and it's almost like you're just accepting to let yourself sort of, let that sort of life inside of you die a bit. And why, so that's why I found you so inspiring.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I agree with everything you're saying. I think that it's very easy to find yourself in a time in your career and your life with family commitments where it is about paying off the mortgage. It is about career progression. And I think for men that are that are in that 30 to 50 bracket, right into their 50s, maybe even into their 60s, I kind of go, I think a lot of us lose our way a little bit. We lose our sense of identity of what made us who we were to start with, but we reconcile it, right? We've got to let go of these parts of us that were fun and adventurous because we have adult responsibilities. The reason I started ice diving was because I actually wanted to see if I could get back to that feeling of what it would be like to be adventurous and to do things that challenged me. And so I literally decided that one day that after freediving for a lot of years, that uh, I would go for a world record. I would announce it to the world that I'm going for a world record in becoming the deepest man under ice. And I'd never actually dived under the ice before, so it was a bit of a piss take. But I went and told the world because I figured, well, if I tell everyone on social media, then I've got to follow through with it, and it'll give me a reason or a platform to take some friends along with me, some men who were at the same age as me. So I was like late 40s. I said, I'll bring these guys along because one's in a broken marriage, another one has never been outside of Australia. So let's a reason to have some adventure together and create some experiences and learn new things about ourselves, to go out into the edge and to see if we can access different things about who we are and get excited about life. And that bred this opportunity where we went up to the pretty much high up into the Arctic Circle and went chasing a world record. And now I'm just obsessed by doing that constantly. And I think at any stage of your life, there's something about not letting go of those things that really defined you and finding a way to incorporate them back into your life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so many things I want to ask you about that, but I guess first thing is like with that process for you, it goes from I'm gonna, dip my toe in the water, give this like, give this a shot, see what this is all about, to then going for a world record. What were the steps for you? Was that a gradual process going from that first step to the okay, now I'm going for a world record? And also it just sounds I mean, I'll ask you this properly after. It just sounds terrifying, like diving like what you're doing. Yeah, what was the process for you?
Well, so I've gone for two world records under the eyes now. One was last year. So I'm 53. And so I broke another world record last year up in Iceland while shooting a film for Apple to see if I could become the man who swims the furthest distance under ice on a single breath. Um, And so the first record, yeah, like I just reasoned to myself, oh, like water's water. How bad can it be? I don't know. I'll do some ice baths and stuff. I'll get ready for this, do some cold water tolerance training, and then I'll just use my sports psychology because that's what I trained in to be a sports psychologist. I'm just going to do all my mental toughness techniques and I'll be fine. So I get up to like northern Norway. It's minus 35 degrees when we arrive. We're driving around in snowmobiles because you can't drive cars because there's too much snow and ice. And I really discovered in a hurry that ice diving is brutal. It is so cold. The challenge is just trying to stay warm enough to leave your log cabin to get out onto the ice, onto a frozen lake to where the hole is that you've set up, which can sometimes take like an hour by snowmobile, to stay warm enough to then get into the ice water in a thin wetsuit. And without any preparation, any warm up, just go and dive, and to dive a world record distance or depth. It is hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I could have made it so much easier by training for months and months up in the ice, but it just wasn't what I was about. I wanted to really explore what I'm capable of and try to figure things out as fast as possible rather than become like some full-time ice diver. I just went, I'm going to strike mission. I'm just going to get in there, get it done and get out.
Wow. And what's the psychology behind that? Is that like, did it really prove to you, I guess, like you're saying, with when you were working with athletes, that it can be the difference between being, top 20 and top 3. Like, did it really prove that even further about just the power of the mind, having that, being able to control your thoughts and hyper focusing and whatever else goes into it, just how powerful the mind is for any of these endeavors?
No question. I think some sports lend themselves more to sports psychology than others. I think if you're in a physical sport like rugby or gridiron, American football, where there's a lot of physicality, a lot of technique, a lot of good coaching and fitness is required, where those things are a necessity. But then you have sports on the other end of the spectrum, like mine, where I can beat guys who have a bigger breath hold, who have been training harder, better equipment, better coaches. I'll still beat them often because I'll go and be more mentally tough in competition to perform under the pressure of the discomfort and the fear that exists in our sport. And if you can do that consistently, then you're going to be very hard to beat. So I focused more on that mental edge, because the physical side of things, I compete against athletes who are full-time professional freedivers, some who have done it for a decade or more, and I'm trying to beat these guys. So the only way I can do that is by using my superpower, which is mental toughness. And it's not something I was born with. It's something like anyone, you can learn how to do it. And most athletes, they don't. They focus on the physical things, right? And I'd be curious to know if you were the same when you were playing elite level sport. Did you just focus on the physical? You knew the mental was important, but percentage-wise, how much time did you put towards that mental side of your game? I bet it was small.
Oh, yeah, it was almost none. It was more just seeing how far I could push myself, but I wasn't putting any thought into the actual mental side. It was just going for it. And I think that's probably why, I got injured as well. And yeah, you just don't have that knowledge. And, that on the broader sense, it's, why I'm doing this podcast. We don't get taught about this stuff. And this just helps in every single aspect of life. And it's kind of crazy that we often have to just fall flat on our face to even start thinking about some of these things. They should really, I think it's the most important life skill.
Yeah. And I think because we're often not taught a lot of these skills that are in this niche area of psychology and performance, like how to perform under pressure, how to control your emotional state when you're feeling the heat, how to perform consistently, all these things, they're not necessarily things that we discuss often or are taught early on when we're doing sport, or even doing things like studying for exams or going to university or school. The things that either you got a curiosity or an interest in, or you don't. And I still find it surprising that we don't put as much emphasis on it, because there's just moments in everyone's life, so many moments of performance, moments that count, where we want to be able to access these skills. And yeah, so I'm with you, Nick. I just think that they're very, very important, but often underutilized or undertaught.
Yeah. If you're feeling stuck, you're not alone. Most people don't realize how connected your mental health is to your body, from your gut to your sleep, movement, food, mindset. Getting active each day can shift how you feel, build confidence, and transform your quality of life. At Move Your Mind, we guide you through this process step by step. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at Nick Brax and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. If you find the show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm just so interested in, the fear that must come with what you're doing with. So is there an innate fear that you're going to run out of breath, or, something's going to happen, and that's what you're able to mentally really push you, put to the side and keep yourself composed?
So freediving has these fears that you don't find in many other sports. It has this fear of suffocation, of not being able to take breath when you're deep underwater. Compound that with having a layer of ice, nearly a meter thick over the top of you, with only one exit escape hole in some situations. That creates a sense of very primal fear of not being able to breathe when you are desperate for air. There's also fears of just sinking all alone into the deep open ocean where it's pitch black, and you might be free falling into pitch black darkness by yourself for 2 minutes, turn around and then swim back up in pitch black darkness where there's no rescue. It's really just on you to get yourself out of that. We do have good safety systems, but you don't want to rely on those. You can rely on them, but it's much better that you just get your way back yourself.
Yeah.
Because of that, it lends itself well to mental toughness. So techniques around how to control those fears, how to know what happens to you when you're placed in those environments. A lot of that comes from experience, but you need to fast track your experience. And there's ways to do that, techniques that come from sports psychology that have been particularly helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I felt terrified just thinking about it. The thought of being that far under, freezing cold, not being able to see anything. It sounds like I don't know. I don't think I could do it. It just sounds so scary. Do you have to train how much training do you put into the breathing part of it to increasing that capacity?
So the last world record I went for was done in midwinter last year up in Iceland. And the goal was to see how far I could swim on one breath under the ice. It was also, we had a big production crew up there. We filmed for a month. And there was one day where, okay, this is a day, I think we've been filming for 10 days. And it's like, okay, tomorrow's the day you're going to go and swim for the world record. So I remember already going, oh man, I've just been filming for 10 days. And we're going for this world record tomorrow. It's middle of winter. It's freezing cold. And the crew would have been 70 or 80 people, and a big production. And so there was a huge amount of pressure, but there was also this very real pressure of having to swim this enormous distance under the ice. And to give you some context, the furthest I'd ever swum under ice before with this world record attempt was 20 meters. And the world record I was going for was to break 175 meters. The day before the world record, I had a practice attempt, and the furthest I got was 20 meters.
What the hell? Oh my God.
I know. We had all sorts of things go wrong, and I was like, oh man, this is ridiculous. The pressure was something that I actually really welcomed. I wanted to see how I would go after all these years of putting myself in these positions to see, well, so have I really got the ability to cope and perform and trust myself to just be able to pull this off? I didn't have the amount of training that you'd expect. So if I think of the person who held that world record, a Frenchman who did 175 meters, he trained for 4 months. 2 of those months, I think, were up on the ice. And he was in peak physical condition and everything, and is categorically the best pool swimmer holding his breath in the world, much more than I am. And because of the filming regime, it meant that I had 7 weeks to prepare from a standing start where I hadn't held my breath for 2 years. And I got COVID in the middle of that.
Ugh. God.
And so when I'm sitting on the ice, and I think I'd come out to do this world record, and I'm like, I've got a minute sitting on the ice before I get into the ice water, and I'm sat there thinking to myself, is this ridiculous? Like, am I going to be able to do this? What's going to happen here? Am I going to black out underwater somewhere? That's what I could have thought, but I didn't. I just really focused my thoughts and really focused on my mental game to be able to switch off that voice that sometimes, to really just be full of self belief and commitment to being able to pull it off. And yeah, it does work. I mean, I think I'm living proof that if you really put some effort into that side of things, that you can perform incredibly well under pressure.
Yeah, it is living proof of it, and it's so interesting because that again just applies to everything because we can often psych ourselves out of anything. We can have imposter syndrome. We can be telling ourselves all of these different stories. It's really hard not to buy into that, no matter what we're doing, and that can just psych you out to the point where you just you don't put your best foot forward in life, and you you sabotage. And I think it's such a good example for, I guess the question around that is a lot of our listeners, are men that are feeling stuck in wherever they're at in life. And a lot of that is from those stories. They sort of know what they want to do, what changes they want to make, but they can't action it. And their
Mm.
mind, these stories they're buying into will talk them out of it. Where could they begin from your understanding if they just wanted to, make that first step in trying to change that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first step for me has been around just the simple technique of reframing. So reframing the challenge that I'm going for. So I'm just going to stick with my own example for now, although I do believe it applies to exactly what you've just said, Nick, around feeling like a fraud, not feeling like you can do a particular thing or see yourself in that light. So I try to reframe it. So reframing means position it in a different light from a real negative, that voice on the shoulder saying, you can't do this, you've never done it before, you're not going to be successful. There are better people out there who can do this way better than you, which is that voice that we get. I get that all the time, by the way. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I, I get that. It's constantly saying, you're not a nice diver, you don't know anything about the eyes, you haven't done enough training to do this. And so what I do is I replace it, I reframe it by having answers to all of those, that voice on my shoulder. I have those answers, and they're all super positive and highly truthful statements that I say, that I repeat to myself to virtually block out or stop that other voice coming in. So I reframe a lot of the negativity to positivity. So, so like the thing I said to myself before, in the minutes leading up to that world record attempt last year, was, "This is who I am. This is what I do." Now I know that sounds really simple, but for me, that's right down to the core of identity. How I see myself as I remind myself that I am an ice free diver, and this is what I do, and I'm the best, right? That's what I
Mm,
need
mm.
to be believing in those moments. And so, if you take a step back, this comes down to identity. How do you see yourself? How do you perceive yourself? Do you value yourself and your net worth and your self esteem? The voice on the shoulder often beats us up. I believe that until you train your mind, it wants to sabotage you, especially in the moments of performance. So, one thing that I'd like to recommend to people that are listening today is to have a switch, a moment where you switch from how I view myself normally as this kickabout guy who's friendly and got a good circle of friends, married, all those things. And you have that switch moment where you go, I need to be able to access a different part of my identity, of who I am. It's still me. It's not fake. It's not made up. But I need to be able to access it at will so that I present and fully buy into this different version of me that I have. At least this is what I do. So when I come to swim a great distance, in those moments, I use a trigger, something that changes me from and just kickabout guy to and this person who is ice free diver and one of the best in the world. I need to like kind of physically shift from one to the other, and so I have that day moment where I put on all my equipment And the last thing I do is I have this nose clip, the thing that I clip on my nose, and that goes last. And so the process of putting on my wetsuit and getting ready, going out into the ice, that's moving me towards this moment of switching identity. But if you were to come up to me and go, "Hey, Ant, how's it going?" I'd be like, "I am now." I'd be like, "Oh, hey, bro." "Yeah, good. What's going on?" I'd be this relaxed and just me because I haven't switched yet. But then when I'm about to go, then the nose clip goes on. Boom, I'm different. Now I've trained this so that I see myself in a different light. I'm relaxed. I'm full of self-belief and like confidence to the level of almost arrogance where I'm like, if you've come to compete with me today, I really feel sorry for you because you're going down. Like I'm going to crush this today and you have to bring your A game. Like, this is just constantly all these thoughts in my mind. When I look around the environment, everything, they're around, I am the man right now. Now, I wouldn't do that normally, right? Back in normal life, my normal, just so you know,
Yeah.
I'm not like that, thinking that all the time, but I have this ability to switch, and everyone has it. You just got to practice it. So I switch in that mode where I go, I'm not being fake. I'm not being inauthentic. I'm expressing a side of myself, or I'm shifting into that side of myself that is highly capable in these moments. And in those moments when I access it and then I clip my nose clip on, then I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's bring this on.
That's so powerful, mate. I love, thank you for sharing that. And, that like helps me hearing that. And I remember when I first was getting into acting, I would be so terrified. Every time I had an audition or when I was going to perform, I'd be trying to make sure the perfect conditions were there, that I had enough sleep, that I over prepared, because you're trying to basically control your level of emotion for when you do it. And it never worked because it just led to more anxiety. And then it sort of became, that was the switch for me, where once you realize that it doesn't matter actually what the hell you're feeling, you just need to know how to switch into that mode. But it's so refreshing to hear you talk about that. And I think for our listeners, the fact that you're doing these crazy things and you even have those negative thoughts that you have learnt how to change, no one's immune. We're all similar because we all tell ourselves a story that there's something wrong with me and I just struggle more than other people, or they're just more confident than me, or whatever it is. But it's so cool that it can be distilled down to a technique and you're just practicing it.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't start a sport until age 30. The only reason I did well at that sport was from that mental side of it, of just trying to work these things out. And back then, a lot of the techniques that I use today that made me, I think, successful were never even documented back there. They were just ideas I was playing around with. And I think that comes to this idea that you need to evolve. No matter what stage of life you're at, you need to evolve, mix it up, and change. And that's the thing that it's hard to do because we get not complacent, but we get comfortable in the way that we do things, and we see ourselves in a particular way. Mm. And I'm really conscious of that, so that all the time, every year, I'm going, how do I get a breakthrough? Where's my next edge going to come from? What's the next challenge that I can do to extend myself further? Because I want to keep growing and learning and trying stuff out and being relevant and being a good role model for my children and for others. And I think whatever stage of your life you're at, it's about saying, well, what am I prepared to change up? What am I prepared to risk in order to fulfill my dreams and realize my potential? And I don't think we ask ourselves enough of that as middle-aged men. I'm speaking for myself now, not Nick, you, Nick, because you're much younger than me.
I'm getting there. Late 30s. I'm like, it's coming quick.
but I think all those things around the traditional roles and responsibilities of men, they're beautiful, important things, but I don't think they should be at the expense of our health, our wellness, and our mental health. And I think that these things that I'm talking about around being able to perform under pressure and challenge yourself more and dip a toe in and try some different things out, these are highly accessible to anyone. They are. Often I think that voice in our shoulder stops us from trying different things out. But remember, every time you move out of your comfort zone, do things that are different and unique and a little bit wild, Not thrill seeking or crazy stuff where you could get hurt or injured, but taking positive calculated risk. That's where you learn so much about yourself. And that's what I want to do as I go from my 50s into my 60s. I want to continue learning and exploring and seeing what I'm capable of. And I wish more men would do that.
If you're feeling stuck, we get it. Most people don't realize how connected your mind is to your body. Sleep, gut health, food, exercise, it all matters. At Move Your Mind, we help you lose weight, build confidence, and reset your mindset in just 100 days. There's no extremes and no experience needed. We guide you to build simple habits and routines that will last for a lifetime. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at Nick Brax and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. If you have any suggestions for new topics or guests, please send me a DM on Instagram at Nick Brax. Yeah, I think once you sort of, stop doing that, losing that curiosity, you're just on the decline, because that's what life's about. There's no end to it. We need to stay curious, learn, just keep learning, keep expanding. And it's hard, like you're saying, because it's uncomfortable. It's scary. We're creatures of habit. No one likes the feeling of unpredictability, uncertainty, but we need to find a way to be able to see it in that positive light and make those changes. And another question that comes up with that is it important, in your view, to have people holding you accountable to that? Because it can often be very hard when it's just, we might identify these things, but to hold yourself accountable without having someone else, there on the journey with you can be really hard.
Oh, look, I think just trying to build your own motivation up, even to train towards a big goal, be committed to the action that's required in order to prepare for something, a change you want to make or something you want to accomplish. There's enormous value in putting it out there and telling the world that's what you're going to do and make that public commitment. There's also telling your friends and bringing them in to support you. All of these things just give you a massive boost, because it means that this public commitment idea is really big. I mean, we know that for years. Don't go and train by yourself at the gym all the time. I go to the gym quite often, 2 or 3 times a week, and most people I see there are training by themselves. And I go, wow, that's so much harder than having someone else to go and train with. And I'm there by myself as well. But the way I do it is I make sure that I've got really big, lofty goals that I'm chasing, where I know that I have to do this session this morning to move me towards that outcome. So I don't know if that totally answers your question, but I think but I'm in agreement with you. I think there's a real important step of being clear with what the goals are and sharing them with others to help drive your commitment into action.
No, it definitely does answer it. Yeah. And I think it is so important, and it's more fun, doing it with other people. So yeah, really, really good answer there. Can you talk a little bit more about your documentary with Apple?
So I, with the last world record attempt up in Iceland, it came about because I was approached by a production company out of London called Atlantic Productions. They contacted me and said, we're making this film. Can't tell you who the client is, but we're making this film, and do you want to go back to the ice? Because in 2019 you became the deepest man under ice. I went up to northern Norway, cut a hole in the ice. We were up there for weeks, but cut a hole in the ice, and I dived down successfully to 70 meters to break the world record. And then, so 5 years later, here we are, speaking to this production company, and they're saying, do you want to go back and do something else? I was like, oh, really? I've been retired ever since. That was like my last hurrah. And I was like, and seriously, guys, like, why are you talking to me? I'm 52. I hardly know anything about ice diving. I just decided it would be really fun to go give it a go. I said, you've got full-time athletes in the Nordic countries that all they do is ice dive. That's their career. I'm already there. Go and talk to them and make a film. And so I thought you're just talking to me because you feel you have to, but it's not. You're not going to choose me. Because I'm in Australia. Anyway, after a few weeks went by, they went, okay, we've decided we're going to go with you. I'm like, what? Okay, but I don't understand why. But yeah, I said, well, yeah, okay. What do you want? What are we going to do here? And they said, well, we really want you to go and see if you can break this world record to come to the person who swims the greatest distance under ice. And by the way, the world champion Alexei Molchanov has just pushed the record out from 175 to 181. It's like, oh, great. So Nick, this is where it got interesting because I figured I'm going to take on this challenge. I've got 7 weeks, and I've got nothing to lose. Because I said to them, I said, the chances of me pulling this off and doing it without me exiting earlier from the swim are probably about 5%. It's not very realistic. But then I went into gear, and because they had said yes, okay, well, if that happens, we'll work with it. We'll make it into a story. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go and start training. So from the day they said yes, it's you, I started training twice a day, like hard, and it wasn't around breath hold. The first 4 weeks was all minimal breath hold work, but it was twice a day, technique, fitness, swimming with my big fin on. And working stuff out of how I was going to do this record, like problem solving, mostly on the mental side. How am I going to get my head around this? It's a really, really big swim. It's going to be as uncomfortable as all hell. So I monitored myself a lot. So I was using one of these Apple Watches to look at my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, to see how am I going on recovery, my oxygen saturation after longer dives, all this stuff and biofeedback to go, can I push harder or do I need to slow down? And 53, and I was just noticing I could keep pushing. 4 weeks in, and all my vitals were telling me I can push harder. So I was like, right, that's it. I'm upping the game even harder. So work took a bit of a backseat as I'm just absolutely giving it hell, training in the pool. And then by the time I got over there to go for the record, I was like, yep, physically, I'm there. I think the biggest distance I've swum is 100 meters. But I'm like, I'm ready. I could just tell that I was ready to do 180 something. Because I've done it long enough to know when I'm in that fit physical form. So from there, it was all going to be mental. So that was the battle.
Wow. It's crazy, mate. And if people want to check out your documentary, find out more about it, what can they do?
Yeah, so it's exclusively on the Apple Vision Pro. So it means that if you really want to see the film, and I'd love everyone to go and see it, you've actually got to go in if you don't own one of these, and they've only been out for a year, so not many people have. But you can go into an Apple store and ask for a demo. I think you've got to book them in, but then you can watch the movie called The Ice Dive, and it's incredible, Nick, because you've got 8K resolution for each eye. It's shot in immersive format, which means you are surrounded, like 180 in front of you is all the film, right? Super high, crystal clear, and it's got spatial audio. I'm not even going to do it justice by trying to explain it to you, but when you watch it, you don't watch it, you experience it. It is so immersive that at least half the people who I've showed this to have cried at the end. They've had such a visceral, emotional reaction to watching it. And it's only 15 minutes long. Afterwards, you feel like you were there. You were training with me at the pool up in northern Iceland. You were with me out on the ice in the minutes before I had to try this crazy world record attempt. You just feel like you're part of the crew, my support team. I can't recommend it highly enough. Check it out. It's this incredible way of storytelling that's going to, I think, change the way that storytelling and filmmaking is done over coming years. It's very early on, but the technology is phenomenal. For a first ever product to be able to do this, it will blow your mind. And I don't say that lightly. It's absolutely mind-blowing stuff.
It's so cool, and it really does sound like things are going to move that way, really setting the tone for where things are going to go. And again, it's just another example of how cool you're part of that, and would have never happened if you didn't go and just, take these chances and do these different things. And so you would have never thought, even when they were first talking to you about it, like you're saying, you were like, why me? Is it going to happen? It's like, you never know where the hell a path is going to take you, unless you sort of just take the, you just go for it, take
I'm
the
a firm
plunge.
believer. Yeah, when you put that a lot of mental energy into it, and you really want it to become a reality, then you'll be surprised at how often things just seem to fall into place if you put your energy into a particular area and truly focus in that space. Uh, it's amazing what you can achieve. Yeah, I feel like I get lots of opportunities that keep coming up as a result of just smaller ones that I've done before, and so you don't necessarily jump to the end point, but you take these incremental risks, and they can be so rewarding, so fulfilling. They don't always go to plan, but anyone can do it. Anyone can access it. You just have to be willing to back yourself and trust in your ability to cope with whatever comes your way.
And have the mindset, like you were saying there, you don't know where it's going to go exactly, but even if it doesn't go to plan, if things don't, happen how you wanted, you're going to learn
Oh, what?
probably, and you probably
Yeah.
learn more. That's how you learn about yourself, about, it's like that's the biggest lessons, I think.
Yeah, like so what? Honestly, if I'd gone up there and blacked out under the ice, it would have been unpleasant. But so what? Still like, well, I still got the opportunity, and that was a lot of fun. That month up in Iceland was one of the greatest times I've had in my life.
Yeah.
I feel incredibly privileged and blessed to be able to do some of this stuff. But I don't want anyone listening to be going, "Oh yeah, but this guy is so different from me. He's not ordinary." Well, guess what, man? I totally am. Sometimes I wonder if I could be any more ordinary in terms of everything was just a decision. It wasn't based on any skill, any physical attributes, or any natural innate gifts. None of it was. It was just, oh, I reckon I could enjoy doing that and I might learn something. That was the mindset.
I love it. I love it. And that's I think that's the thing. We're always looking for some magical answer, some special pill that will give us all the solutions, and we look up to all these people who are doing big things. But at the end of the day, exactly like you're saying, we're all the same, and everyone starts somewhere, and there is no magic solution. It's just about going for it, taking that first step. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Take that first step, and yeah, and find things that would just give you a lot of joy, and and things that you could do with others. Like I think that you know, there's and take baby steps as well. Like yeah, when I started out freediving, I was terrible at it,
Yeah.
but it was like I really enjoy it, and I can see myself benefiting from this. And I've got a real goal. I really want to know that the things I teach others in sports psychology that I can apply them to myself. So if
Yeah.
you've got the right motivation, then yeah, I think you'll be stunned at how much you can actually achieve.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, do you have some? What's your next sort of big challenge you're looking at, or do you have big goals for the future that you're looking at? What are you seeing when you're looking ahead the next decade of your life or the next 20 years?
So I'd be really surprised if I don't get another opportunity to do some more ice diving stuff. Uh, the world champion broke one of my world records for going deep under the ice. So I don't know if someone rang me up tomorrow and said, "Hey, you want to go back and hit that world record back?"
Go
I'd
get him
probably
back, mate. Come on, get him back.
yeah, I reckon I might go and have a go at that.
I like it.
Uh, and and yeah, I've engineered my lifestyle so that I can go and do those sorts of things when those moments do come up. But yeah,
Amazing.
I'll put that energy out there and see what happens. But yeah, at the moment, I'm looking at writing a book, and I'm also looking to head to the US soon to maybe jump on, yeah, do some cool podcasts like this, and see if I can create some opportunities to do some speaking around it, just to share the story. Because the thing I enjoy as much as doing my sport is sharing it with others and trying to convince people that you don't have to be some special elite athlete to be able to do some pretty cool stuff in life. And it's actually more accessible than you would possibly believe for everyone.
If you feel like you've lost control of your health physically or mentally, Move Your Mind is here to help you. We guide you through weight loss, lifestyle change, and resetting your mindset without any extremes or overwhelm. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at Nick Brax and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you find this show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps. Absolutely, mate. Well, we will have information on the documentary in the links. What else can people look up if they want to find out anything else, any information about you? Where can we send them?
Yeah, just come and follow me at Freedive Guy on Insta, on Facebook. I'm also, thanks to my 16-year-old daughter, I'm now on TikTok for about 3 days. And I'm on LinkedIn as well because I teach leadership as well. So you can find me there, Ant Williams, on LinkedIn. And yeah, connect. And if you've got any questions, feel free to just ping them through to me, DM me. Yeah, always happy to contribute to the conversation around this side of things when it comes to mental health and performance.
Great. Well, yeah, again, we'll have all of those links in the show notes, so make sure to check all of it out. And we finish with 5 closing questions for every episode. These can be sort of just quick, whatever answer comes to mind for you. The first one being, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
Wow. Best childhood memory. Going surfing with mates.
Love it.
I think a surfboard that one of us bought for $40 in a secondhand store. Yeah.
Love those kind of memories. What do you think is currently the biggest burden on mental health in society?
I think the biggest burden on mental health is the pace of change and how volatile and uncertain a lot of financial markets are and political environments are. The level of uncertainty and almost chaos is bigger than I've ever seen it in my lifetime. Add to that artificial intelligence, and I think often by age into your 30s, 40s, and 50s, a lot of us find ourselves in leadership roles. And right now, we're trying to navigate through this uncertainty and figure out how do we work with AI. And I think health and wellness and balance is becoming more important than ever for us to practice, so that we bring good energy into these discussions and debates around how we use these new tools that are coming available for us and embrace them rather than be terrified by them.
Such a good point. And yeah, like you're saying there, unless we learn to make that boundary ourselves with how we use, these different technologies and how we prioritize our health and wellness, it won't happen because there's just too many distractions. So yeah, I think that's so relevant what you're saying. What would you say is your personal definition of happiness?
Oh, great question. My personal definition of happiness is probably different from most. I'm at my happiest, and I think most people, if they're honest with themselves, are at their most happiest, not when they're sitting at home on the couch watching TV feeling, oh, I've got it made. We're at our happiest when we're out there setting challenges for ourselves, where we're rising to the occasion, challenging ourselves to see what we're capable of, learning new things, building new skills, making a difference in community, even when it feels uncomfortable. And I think it's those moments that we remember the longest. You're not going to look back at 60 or 70 years old and go, whoa, man, can you remember that time I was sitting on the couch watching that TV show? No. You're going to remember the moments that counted, where you made a difference and you made an impact.
Totally. I think that's super inspiring, mate. And it really is so important for all of us to remember, because it's just, even if you have done these things, it's so easy just to fall into the comfort. So we all need to remember that. I'm gonna write it down after this to keep reminding myself to do uncomfortable things. What if you could give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self? What would that be?
Start trusting yourself and your ability to be able to make your life whatever you want it to be. Stop talking yourself down.
Yeah, love that, mate. Love that. Well, final one. What are you most proud of?
I'd like to think I've become a really good dad. And that would be the thing that I'm the most proud of. I'm not the dad who, as you picked up on, has climbed the corporate ladder. I haven't done that. I'm not someone who's amassed phenomenal wealth, but I'm someone who has hopefully inspired his own children to believe in their ability to make life whatever they want to make out of it, and an environment that's full of love and full of support for those kids.
Beautiful. Well, beautiful answer, mate. And I think you've done something bigger than those two things you referenced. And, you've inspired me, and I'm sure our listeners and people all over the world. So thank you so much for making the time, mate, and really loved chatting to you.
Thanks, Nick. I really enjoyed the chat. And yeah, like you, I just hope that a couple of those ideas or thoughts might resonate with anyone listening.
Thank you, Ant Williams, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave a comment or just send a DM. Your feedback's always appreciated. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.